Hello, hola, bonjour, namaste. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we welcome to the second video on the Naga Bros channel. We are so glad you can join us today, and we really hope you enjoy today's video. If you enjoy the content, please remember to smash those like and subscribe buttons. And if there isn't anything else, let's get right to it.
All right, today we will be talking about cryptocurrency, otherwise known as crypto, a new invention that has taken the hearts of investors by storm, last and this current year. If you don't know what cryptocurrency is, you might recognize it as Bitcoin, its most popular form. Today we will explore how Bitcoin works and the general reason that cryptocurrency was created, and how it's better than the system that we already have today.
But first, let's think a little bit about what our system is like today. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a young man who wanted to buy a house for himself. After extensively searching for many months, he finds the perfect house. He purchases the home for $1.2 million. The thing is, this man is really untrusting of others and wants to be walked through every single step of the process to make sure nothing goes wrong. In order to do so, he incurs expenses for agents, bank fees, title fees, registration fees, and many more. Each of these costs add to the amount of time and money that he spends. But what if there was a system which is trustless, no middleman, fast, limited in supply, and overall is a better system than what we have today? This is what Bitcoin offers. The system today is led by the government, which runs on deficit budgets, which in America leads to printing lots of money in order to pay off the difference. A key example of this is the financial crisis in 2008, when the government printed a lot more money in order to bail out companies. This led to the overall inflation of the dollar, as well as the mounting problem of federal debt. The key idea is that the government continues to print money when they need it, causing it to become basically infinite. This infinite nature of the money causes the nature of it to become inflationary and constantly decrease in value. Cryptocurrency fights this assumption of life and spurs decentralization. Decentralization supports taking the massive power away from the leading group and eradicating the trust needed in all of your transactions. This idea brings us to the problems of how transactions in current society are wrong. First of all, when we are making purchases, a middle party usually takes part of the cut, examples being banks or the government. We also have to instill a lot of trust into people that we don't know. These transactions also take an extremely long time, and because of all the transportation and checks needed. Therefore, we know that there is something we can fix here. This is why cryptocurrency was created.
From what we know, a person or group of people under the alias Satoshi Nakamoto were the first people to create a type of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is basically using a system of completely online currency to make a trustless, fast, and cheap transactions without all of the downsides of the regular system today. Here's how it works. Let's think of it as not a currency for a second, but rather something else. In reality, Bitcoin is just a computerized system that keeps track of online transactions and records. For example, let's say that we have a group of three people, who are referred to as A, B, and C. If person A takes $20 from person B and then gives half of that to person C, there is no current way of keeping track of this without keeping a record of it, right? Person A can say that person B owes him $20 and flip the whole story. So the point is, when someone's word against someone else's word, there's not a guaranteed way to find the truth. The idea of cryptocurrency is that keeping records of all the transactions that occur using a very long chain of serial digits in order to keep track of each currency. Therefore, Bitcoin is a ledger that's completely run by its people that keeps track of transactions. So everyone will have their own copy of a transaction record. But how do we know that a certain transaction record is correct? This is done through communication. All the ledgers have to check in with each other and make sure that each one is similar, or exactly the same. The system will mark the ledger with the most people who checked it as valid, similar to the concept that having more data is more accurate and a better measure of something. This way of recording things is known as blockchain, which is a series of blocks or sets of information that are chained together, hence the term blockchain.
Now, you may have heard of a feature of Bitcoin known as mining for the currency. As we know, Bitcoins have a long string of numbers to represent a certain coin. To explain this concept in simple terms, mining is basically guessing the exact right code of numbers of a certain Bitcoin and becoming the temporary banker for that certain coin, meaning that you can add that Bitcoin into your account and gain that certain amount of money. Mining Bitcoins has progressively gotten harder, as since so many have already been mined, it's becoming more and more difficult to guess the strings to the remaining coins. And since the value of Bitcoin is rising due to the many people buying them, we know that successfully mining a piece of currency can get you a very large reward, consisting of more than $50,000 today.
The reason that the system is trustless is due to the concept of proof of work. Proof of work is a concept that allows verifiers to check that the block was created properly and is correct without having to do the work themselves. This allows people to constantly be checking the work of others and being sure that everything is fine. The verifiers can check the string of numbers to see if it's correct easily. This allows individual blocks to be verified, but what about blockchains? The way that these chains can be confirmed is through the length of the chain. The longest chain is considered to be correct, and the reason that this system works is because each hash is based on the hash and information of the block before it. A hash is basically the ID number of the block, and it is assigned to the block. It is its numerical value, and to call upon that block, this hash is needed. So if someone were to change the block and do something that wasn't completely honest, it would create an entirely new blockchain due to the difference in the hashes. Then, in order to keep that new chain longer than the original one, and therefore the correct chain, they would need to consistently guess the correct sequence faster than everyone else in the world. As you can tell, one person or one group of people can't actually compete with the rest of the world. So this added layer of security through the length of the blockchains discourages fraud and basically completely eliminates it.
Alright, let's sum up everything that we went over. Bitcoin is a relatively new currency that focuses on eradicating the trust and lack of speed that modern day transactions have. It also allows us to save money, as the middleman of the transaction won't exist there to take a cut of the payment. We also learned that this online currency functions through a system of records of transactions, otherwise known as ledgers. These ledgers keep track of movement of money and are validated by multiple people. The system will only count the ledger with the most validators as the correct record. The system uses chains of blocks known as blockchains to function as well. Hashes and ID numbers are assigned to these bitcoins to keep track of them. On the other hand, mining works by randomly guessing these assigned IDs to earn one coin and become the banker of it, being able to command its actions for a certain amount of time. The more codes that are guessed, the rarer finding a code gets. And because bitcoins are progressively getting more expensive, the price of finding a bitcoin gets higher.
Before we end off, we wanted to leave you with some questions to think about. First, do you think that the concept of Bitcoin can not only be applied to money, but also be applied to real world things? For example, assigning a token for a certain house. Second, do you think that the government would be okay with this plan to decentralize transactions? They get a lot of some money from their transaction taxes. So, do you think that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin would be banned? Lastly, do you think that someone could hijack a cryptocurrency system by gaining more than 50% of all Bitcoin? By gaining more than 50%, do you think that they can produce more of these ledgers than all other users and supply themselves with an unlimited amount of money in circulation? Alright, viewers, that's all for today. Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to smash that like button and to absolutely destroy that subscribe button. See you guys next time on the Noggin Bros channel.